Elvis is our newly acquired diabetic alert dog. He's about to be 2 years old next week, and we got him on February 27th, pretty recently. And we decided to get Elvis for multiple reasons. Casey, I've just seen over 3 years with Casey that technology goes in and out. It's not always accurate. We've had some life-threatening scenarios. We've had a night where the Dex follow-up didn't work, and if it wasn't for my mom looking at the app just randomly in the middle of the night, having received no alarm herself, he could be in a coma that night because he didn't even have a number registering. He was that low. There's just like things like that I don't want to gamble with my son's life. I want to get him every possible resource to keep him healthy and safe as I possibly can. And we were very lucky to have a community of people fundraise or donate and fundraise to help us get Elvis. And already with Elvis, I've seen he can pick up on lows or highs faster than the technology, especially if it's fast rises or fast falls. Technology generally has a 20-minute lag. He also has shown us that sometimes the technology will show that Casey is low and and Elvis is not alerting. And I'll be like, well, the technology is saying Casey's low. Why isn't Elvis alerting? And then we'll do a finger poke and Casey's blood sugar will be 115 and he's perfectly fine. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no wonder Elvis isn't alerting because Elvis alerts under 80 and over 150, unless the number is super close because he's detecting a rise or a fall. It can technically even be normal if he's detecting a rise or a fall. There's been times where he'll alert me Casey's blood sugar is normal when we test. 20 minutes later, he'll come back and alert me again. And that's where you see that it's gone over 150 or under 80. And he's picked it up 20 minutes ahead of time that's happening. He's like our early warning system. The coolest things was yesterday, Casey was at jujitsu class. And since we're still introducing Elvis slowly to the places we go, Casey goes to jujitsu class ahead of me with his dad. And I'll meet when the school closes a little bit later. So I get there, there's classes still going on for at least 15, 20 minutes. I walked in, I sat down with Elvis. As soon as I sat down, he put his paw on me. And I was like, is this an alert? And he puts his paw on me again. And he puts his paw on me again. And I'm like, he's being very persistent. I mouth to Casey from across the room. He's all the way across the room. And I say, what's your pump say? And Casey has hyperglycemia, unawareness when he's distracted by things, which as a kid can be quite often.
Mhm.
So Casey's not even aware. He looks down at his pump and he mouths back to me 62. And I'm like, oh God. I say, come over here and let's do a finger poke because with Elvis, we will only reward him and praise him for a good alert if we've proved with the finger poke that he's accurate. Because we would never want to, if the deck comes wildly off, we would never want to reward him if Casey's blood sugar was really 115. Because then we would be ruining his training. Casey did a finger poke and he was 47. 47. He was so
Wow.
low. And Elvis caught that the minute we walked into jujitsu, the minute we
From,
walked in
from distance.
from across the room.
Wow.
Yes, it was amazing. And I felt such relief because I didn't have a signal on the follow app at that time because Casey doesn't have his phone near him during jujitsu class. So I didn't know what was going on when I walked in. And so between having Elvis, I feel so much safer. That's like such an amazing thing to witness. And there's been other times where Dexcom says he's low and he's actually really above 150 because he's rising super fast, or Dexcom still says he's normal, but he's actually low already. And Elvis is picking up on this so amazingly well that I feel like the first time I ever saw him alert, it felt like a miracle. And then seeing what he does now, just every day, like to keep Casey safe and healthy and help us make better choices. Because before, if the Dexcom said Casey was low, we would have just given him glucose tabs. And then probably about 30 minutes later, we would have wondered why Casey's blood sugar was 2 to 300, because in reality, he was 115 and he did not require treatment. And we just gave him 8 carbs. So those are things that we're realizing we can make better choices for Casey's health based on Elvis, whether he's alerting or whether he's not alerting, and then seeing why not? Why is this the case? That's been pretty eye-opening to us. I would certainly never stop using a continuous glucose monitor, and I would never not use Elvis at this point. I think together they keep my son the safest and the healthiest.
I'm just thinking about nighttime. How has that changed your nighttime and your own rest?
The nighttime training is up to us for the first 6 months. We need to train Elvis for night alerts. He's in our house environment now, so we need to, so every night for no less than 6 months, we do nighttime alert trainings. Casey will go in his room. He will have cotton balls that are in contact case. One side is high blood sugar, one side is low blood sugar. And depending on what's going on with his own body, we'll have one open that's, let's say he was like around 100. Maybe we'll choose the low blood sugar sample. He'll lie down in his bed. Elvis will be on his bed on the floor, and he'll blow discreetly on the cotton ball sample. That will put out the scent for low blood sugar, and Elvis will then get up and alert Casey. Casey will then praise him for a good alert if he's awake in that case, and then he'll come tell Elvis. He'll say, "Come, tell mom and dad." He'll bring Elvis to our room, and when he gets in there, he says, "Tell mom and dad." And Elvis will either jump up and put 2 paws on the bed right where I sleep, or he will jump up on the bed completely to let us know that Casey's blood sugar is not in the right range. We've been practicing this with him every night, and my bed is ridiculously high because when we bought it, the mattress made it, with the frame of the mattress, it made it slightly over 3 feet high. So it's not, but so at first we bought a stool thinking Elvis might need to jump on the stool to get up on the bed. The day the stool arrives, Casey climbs up on the stool to show Elvis how to get up on the bed that way, and Elvis just jumps on the bed from the floor. And I'm like, this is so funny because all this time we thought he needed a stool because he wasn't jumping on the bed. And the day we get it, he's like, "I'm just gonna jump on the bed." And and so now he's like, he does his night alerts most often jumping on the bed without any assistance from the stool. And we will reward him and say, "Good alert, Elvis," and we'll give him a treat. And then so during the night, how this translates into the middle of the night, if Casey's blood sugar goes out of range in the middle of the night, Elvis may be in there. He usually will like lift his head if I go in there, so he doesn't seem to be completely passed out most of the time. But this is where we have to see him get up and alert Casey. The goal is eventually one day he gets up, he jumps on Casey's bed. Casey doesn't wake up. He comes and he gets us. Right now, and Casey generally won't wake up. He doesn't wake up to anything. Right now, I'll go in there. Elvis will realize my being in there. I can either do like a or Elvis if he's not getting up. And then he'll like start sniffing and he'll realize something's wrong and he'll alert me. And then that's where I'll be like, "Let's go tell dad." Then I'll take him to tell my husband that he's still being told, "You have to leave Casey's room and go tell us." It does mean right now that I may get less sleep because there is a whole routine to it and it takes a while, and I have to do a finger poke on Casey and I have to verify that he's actually over the range the way the Dexcom is saying, or under the range. Sometimes he hasn't been. There was one night it said he was like 47 and he was not. He was 88. He never went low. I just have to verify what's going on before I make Elvis do all of this. But we are very committed to the process because Elvis picks up on things quite quickly. I've already taught him. I want to teach him to retrieve diabetes supplies. That's one of my goals. I started by teaching him to get accustomed to what a tab bottle is. After I worked with him on fetching and he brings everything back to me. I started just to get to see if he would pick up a tab bottle. I started playing fetch with him with a tab bottle. And within one or two times of throwing it, he's now brings it back to me every time. Now I just have to translate that into there's a tab bottle sitting somewhere in the house, go get the tabs and then have him bring it to me. But I know he's capable of carrying it. Goals we have for him and just seeing like he is very smart, how fast he generally picks up on things. We know that with all this extra training, he will acquire these essentially life-saving skills at nighttime and potentially with carrying diabetes supplies to Casey if one day he were feeling too low or something to even get them himself, especially
Mhm.
if Sam and I are not around one day when he's older and on his own.
I'm amazed, and I'll tell you, I'm surprised that it's more complex than I realized. I'm sure you hear that. Yeah, I thought the dog would come and ready to go. You just have to fall into the routines and the signals, but it's a lot more than that. Wow.
Yeah, to train jump on the bed, I started off with a ball on the bed, and I would be on the other side, and I would put the ball there, and I would say, get the ball," and then he would jump up on the bed to get the ball, and then that translates later into tell mom and dad, and then he jumps up on the bed. There's like so many little nuances that go into dog training. I personally have a lot of fun with it, and it's very rewarding when Elvis follows through successfully with all of these things.
Well, this really would be ideal for anybody with, and I think probably what I'm reading on the page is this: most children have a lot of lows, and yeah, that is a lifesaver, no question. And
Yes, he's super active. He definitely gets a lot of loads. He plays a lot of sports. Summer camp, he's just moving 24/7 for like 8 to 10 hours. Like he's just constantly on the move.
wow, so that amazes me. And how do I get one of these? But it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great purpose for a fundraiser because it's above. Technology is amazing. It's come so far in the past 25 years, but that is just a different level. The biological scent, you can't beat that.
Yes, and the funny thing is Elvis has even alerted me. Casey wasn't even home, and he kept alerting me. I was like, I should test my blood sugar because this is why does he keep alerting me? And it was 67. I hadn't eaten anything yet that day. I was just so busy. And
Yeah.
after I was 67, I realized I did feel shaky, and I was just like so busy going about my day. I wasn't really thinking too much of it. But even there can be some cases where my blood sugar could go low. He's really on it because he's even alerting me, and I'm not even type 1 diabetic, but I'm falling into his alert zone range.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think that's going to be something people want to see and hear about is the dog. It's
Yeah, so I try to do reels to show good mix of videos, pictures, and explanations to show what Elvis does because I do believe that's a great way to spread awareness about his amazing skills.
I'd love
Yeah.
to go ahead and post those in my group periodically.
Sure,
Love it. That's
for sure.
motivating for people. And I just thinking, what would I do if one of my kids had type 1? And I think this would have changed my life because I was told back in my 30s that I would have been a candidate for a transplant. And we did
Wow.
look, but would have required moving and doing all these things. And I was having all kinds of hypoglycemia that was unexpected with unawareness in the middle of the night. And I'm going to say this because I say it and I've met other diabetics it has helped, is mold in our home caused my blood sugar to bottom out, especially post-exercise. And it
Wow.
was a terrible stage. We were waking ourselves every 2 hours by alarm testing. And sometimes I didn't know I'd even tested. I wouldn't remember. And I was sleeping so deeply. And so we're on a different scale. Our sugar in Canada, we're on millimoles per liter. I'm
Okay.
looking at staying from 4 to 10. I think it's you're 18 times ours. So every time you say a number, I'm like, it's quickly calculating. Anyway, when I look back, we were waiting for the sensors. But just imagine if we had just had a dog, it would have changed things a lot, other than getting rid of the mold, which actually got rid of the problem. But
Yes.
I do urge people with type 1 and families to be very careful about musty basements and things like that, because wow, I spent years trying to understand. We traveled to doctors to see why I had severe hypoglycemia, and
Hmm.
they, one, their stories, I'll tell them different times, but it could have been prevented with something like a dog, no
Hmm.
question. And you don't, if that could happen to me, what other things are out there that can cause other people to have very low blood sugar? We don't know. It's best to be prepared that there is a plan in place if things aren't going well and your kid's going off to college or off to live in an apartment. What a peace of mind you could have knowing that on top of the technology, you have this
Yeah,
devoted.
exactly. Because Casey will go into his teens with Elvis, and I also thought I do hear a lot about teenagers going through, I don't know if rebellious is the right word, but type 1 can become quite a lot as a teenager for kids. And I just thought, on top of everything else amazing that Elvis does, he would be that extra support emotionally and otherwise that would help Casey on days he's just feeling really not well from type 1.
That's fantastic. Well, you know what? I think we've talked about a lot, and I would love to interview you again because I'm sure people have lots of questions. But I'm also thinking if I'm holding a group where people can get, actually, if I could invite you to do a question and answer and invite people just to come and hop on, and it would be either recorded or private, probably private, where people could just talk about
Sure,
things. That'd be
sure.
fun. Maybe I'll stay in touch with you about that, and we'll just come up with a time and hope that some people can join us, and then they can ask you questions, they can ask me questions, and yeah, I'm curious now to see your other articles. Feel
Yes,
free to post that too. Yeah.
I've written 32, and they're basically what goes on as we journey through life with type 1, and they are a mix of experiences. They touch on like medical research about the disease, like type 1 versus type 2,
Mhm.
or like EDKA versus DKA. Some of them focus on events that we do to fundraise for JDRF, and some of them focus on my feelings as a mother living with a son who has type 1. They just cover such a range of topics that I share them on the online communities, and people really seem to appreciate them and be able to either get some help from reading them, some new knowledge, or just feeling like they're not alone in what they go through. I would love to be able to help anyone else and answer questions about anything with type 1.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to know about that dog. But that's just the start. No, that's just the hook, because you've had a lot of other experience too. I think that's what this should be about, is people supporting each other. But some of those groups get to be 10,000 people. And
Yeah,
this, I hope to maintain an intimacy in this group
yes,
so
or
that feel like someone could message you if they have a question, because now they know you a little bit. So
yes.
I appreciate, I think I was so excited to talk to you, and I was tipped off by the article about the dog, but I have to say I got more than I expected, more than I bargained for, because you're also an author and mother of four. There's a lot of issues that I'm sure we could talk for 3 or 4 hours right now.
My
But
husband always says I could talk forever about type.
well, and I could too, but when it's you, people don't want to hear it. And they do think it's not a big deal. And they don't know that it's not when it's going well. Sure. All the time not going well, it's a big deal. And you carry it with you as an adult in a different way. But lucky for me, my mother's always there and my husband to listen. And but I can't imagine life without a support system. And I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a without it. It's something it's invisible, but your mind's focused on it as a parent, particularly, but as the person with diabetes too. So
I have to give a shout out to everyone who's always supported us since Casey's diagnosis, and you know who you are.
well, and they're not going to be seeing this because it's going to be in a private group, but out in the universe. No, it's great. And I just hope that we can connect people and really build on this into a team of people who can support each other in a very, very connected human way, not feeling like you're in a random computer page. Facebook
It's important to have a human connection.
sure is. Well, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for meeting up today. And I look forward to the next time. And I look forward to anything you want to post in that group. I think everyone's going to appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was great talking.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.